homesteading to prepping to common horse sense, we are College Hill Farm. Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, it's time. Our Roma tomatoes are up large enough to where they need a little support. Let's talk about indeterminate tomatoes for a minute. An indeterminate tomato is kind of a bush tomato. It's only going to grow about 3-4 foot tall. So an indeterminate tomato can benefit from support, but some people actually put straw on the ground and grow them on the ground. Now my back says don't grow them on the ground. You'll have to get on the ground and crawl around to harvest them. So I don't grow my determinate tomatoes on the ground. I grow them in cages. And you should too if you've got any kind of health problem that prevents you from bending real easy. It makes it so that the way determinate tomatoes put on, it makes it so that you're able to harvest them standing up. The way they put on is at the end of their vine, they put their fruit at the end. Unlike these big indeterminates that I grow, they grow vines all the way up 11 feet long. They'll go all the way over a 5-foot trellis and all the way down the back side. So these indeterminate or these determinates, you can put a very small cage on them, and I use a 2.5 foot tall cage. You can put a very small cage on them. Now these little 3-wire things that you can buy at the big box stores, they do all right. They have to have support. If you don't put support for them, they'll just topple over. But I'm going to show you, I use some of those too. I've still got a bunch. I used to use them and stake them, but I've still got a bunch, and I don't stake them anymore because I use them in combination with our lifetime tomato cages. Be certain to watch in the next video or two. I'm going to make a bunch because I need a whole lot more determinate tomato cages. Here are the Roma tomatoes that I'm going to cage today. And the very first thing you want to do before you cage them, you want to make sure that the weeds are out of the way. Now I've laid my cages out here, and I'll just pull them back. I want to make sure that I'm not caging a big bunch of weeds. Okay, that's got the weeds out of the way. Now, these tomatoes will pretty much shade out the weeds. You might have to pull a weed or two here and there. But let's start off. I use these. I call them lifetime tomato cages. They're made out of concrete wire. And these parts just push right down into the ground. I put one here on this tomato. Make sure it comes up through. And just seat that right down in the ground. Now that's solid enough to do whatever needs to be done. Now over here, 4 tomatoes away, let me point you in that direction. 4 tomatoes away, I'm going to set another cage just like that. Okay, now I've got that done. I'm going to use these old 3-wire cages that ain't much punkin. This one's even loose. It's only got 2 wires on the end and one of them short. But as long as there's one that'll go in the ground, that's all you need. So I'm going to put it on this tomato. And there it is. And it's just going to topple over because that's what they do. Okay, now you can use a cable tie or you can use string. I like this string. It's a cotton twine, cotton wrapping twine, because come the end of the season, it'll just rot up. It pulls right out of the center. Okay, so you can take that, shove it in your pocket, and just keep working down the row as you go. So let me pull this cage back up here. What I'm going to do is push that down in. Just tie this baby right to it. It doesn't take a lot of time. Get my pocket knife out and change pockets with it. Lop it off. Now I'll take this other tomato cage, put it over this tomato, do it from the back side so you can see. Put it over this tomato. And as the year goes by, you'll want to come along and keep pulling those up through. Now, string go. I'll take this string, tie it here. Then I'm going to cut it off. Right here. Well, I must put my pocket knife right back in that pocket again. And instead of this one just being tied to this cage, I'll wrap it twice, wrap it here, wrap it there, and then wrap it here. And tie it off. Now these 3 cages are together and they're going to hold those plants up just fine. But what if you don't have these little cages? Let's say you don't have the little tomato cages. Well, you can put one of these on every tomato if you want to. But I just bought a roll of this concrete wire because I have to make more. Okay? I bought a roll, it's $138, and it will make somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 of these. Now I need about 40 more, but I don't have them yet. So here's what you can do if you just have a few of these, but you have a bunch more tomatoes. You take your cage, put it in the ground, pull your things up so that they're not hung. Now, this tomato right here doesn't have any support, okay, but it's between 2 cages. guess what? You can take this string come on, out of there. And run it between these cages. And give this tomato the support it needs. Stop there and get some extra string out. Now wrap this string right there, pull it through, put it here, and pull it through, then up to here, up to there, back to there, wrap it, and then back up to the top. Now, as that tomato grows, you just need to come up and keep pulling the limbs up above these lines that are there, and that tomato will be supported as well. It'll be supported by these two cages. Okay, that's what you do for indeterminate tomatoes. They'll grow up as they grow. You need to come every now and then and pull the leaves up, the limbs up. They'll grow over the tops of these cages, but just barely. And the fruit will all wind up right up there on top so that you're bending minimally to pick them. You don't have to get down on the ground to pick them up. Now, I've got 48 of these to do today. Remember, I plant my tomatoes in blocks and I space them in time because I don't want Crystal to have to try and can up a 100-foot row of tomatoes in a day or two. I space mine out. I did half of this row, 30 tomato plants. I did half of this row. And then a week or two later, I did another half. And then just the other day, which has been 3 weeks after this was put, I put another set in out of our bed. So they're spaced out over time so that we have time to dehydrate them and to can them. Because if everything comes in at once, it'll work you to death. You got to plan your garden out so that you're only putting up things as they come. That makes it a little hard for fresh eating, but not really. We have all kinds of other tomatoes and onions and squash and peppers and cucumbers. And we have all that broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower. We have all of that stuff spread out in different places, all at different times of development. But things like beets, they hold in the garden. Things like cauliflower, it holds for a while. You know, I will be harvesting cauliflower over 2 or 3 weeks. So, if you like this kind of stuff, this homesteading, do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homesteading stuff every week, sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what's going on in the homestead that week. If you hit the little bell, when you come to the channel, it'll notify you when we upload a video. We upload every Sunday. And now, with that being said, it's time for me to get on to the next thing and get these tomatoes staked.